Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. I'm Emmanuel, I am an airline pilot, and today we are at the delivery ramp in Toulouse. And you know what that means. Yes, we are finally going to review the Fenix Airbus A320. Now, to make something clear from the very beginning of this video, I am a tech team member at PMDG. So everything you will hear and see in this video might not be 100% without a bias. However, I'm also an avid flight simmer for the past 12 years, and I've been flight simming a lot before I even started my real-world pilot training, so I'm trying to base this review purely on my experience in flight simulation previously, and I'll try to leave as much affiliation with my recent activity as a tech team member at PMDG out of this video. However, I want you to be aware that I am not 100% without a bias here, even though I'm trying to get it out of my mind as good as possible. Alright, so that was the standard caveat that I'm sure a lot of you would have asked me to say if I didn't do it by myself. So we're standing here at Toulouse, beautiful weather, 23 degrees outside, and we are going to head out with our new Fenix A320 and actually do a small flight, see what it can or cannot do, and then we are going to give a final opinion here. Note that I'm not going to compare it with other aircraft in this video, this is purely a Fenix video. So, all of that said, let's actually go ahead and head over to our airplane. Oops. Here we are. That's where I wanted to go. But like any good pilot, before we start heading out to the flight deck, we'll actually start doing the walk around here. So, as many of you know, Fenix is actually using 8K textures for the A320, which does come with a slight performance impact. However, it also means that it comes at quite a good level of detail. So let's actually go ahead and have a look at some of those. Now, that's very well readable over here. But I wonder if we were actually allowed to fly with a sticker being damaged down here? I don't know what Airbus might or might not be doing there. So overall, I tend to say the front gear is looking really good over here. However, the textures are not 100% crisp when you get close up to them. Let's see if we can see inside the external power access panel. Yeah, we can. Alright. Engines, looking really good in here. High quality textures all around, especially on the acoustic lining we see on the engine intake over here, as well as on the fan blades themselves. Overall, good quality engines, I would say. Very nice level of detail, and textures are crisp as you would expect them to be. Heading over to the rest of the wing, that's just the same texture quality here. And look at those reflections. Overall, I tend to say, my first impression is that this is a very well-rounded model. Now, something I'm missing over here is the brake wear indicator pins. Now, it's been a while since I've actually been close to a real Airbus, but I could have sworn that the Airbus also had them and not just the 737. Apart from that, good quality on the textures over here. Great modeling, great to see some of the details. See the retractable landing light here. So overall, I'd say, looking over here, it's a really good looking model. Really not a lot to complain about. And overall, I tend to say, the model is really up to a good standard. Of course, this is an Airbus, so we also have to look under the engine. Make sure that all the latches are closed down here. I'm sure that many of you will know those videos where the Airbus cowlings are flying away, so great to see that these latches are actually shown in 3D down there. Alright. So I'd say this pretty much concludes our walk around, and high detailed model, good looking, and overall really not a lot to complain about in terms of the model. Now let's actually go where all of you want to go, which is of course right here. Oops, that is our jetway here. Ignore that. And you will notice that the frame rates have actually just significantly dropped over here. And that is something that still seems to happen in the Fenix, without any really good ways to predict why it's happening. So when I loaded the airplane up over here, everything has been 100% smooth. And right now, the frame rates have really deteriorated. And that is something that I found a lot of people are actually complaining about. The frame rates of this aircraft are initially really good, but then it often happens that the frame rates just really drop down, and that it really becomes problematic. So now, all of a sudden they're good again, as you can see. I don't quite know what changed, but well, the frame rates are back up, so let's actually go ahead. Before we start firing up the systems, let's actually have a quick look around the flight deck here, just like we just had. Something that's really nice to see here is that Fenix has actually modeled most of those circuit breakers. So you can actually pull them out, push them in, and they will have the proper effect. Now, of course, that's 3D details, but contrary to previous flight simulators, which used up a lot of details, I found that recording those details, or rather simulating those details, does not have too much of an effect on the frame rates in Microsoft Flight Simulator as it did in previous simulators. Apart from that, good details all around the flight deck. Textures are really well done. Interesting, that oxygen mask should be working even without power. Ah well, that's just something minor, we'll ignore that. Alright, so as said, high details everywhere in the flight deck, and really good looking texturing quality as well. Cool. The Fenix also features something that a lot of other aircraft are missing so far in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and that is a full-fledged electronic flight bag. So the EFB comes over here with 6 apps pre-installed. That's the Fenix app, in which you can start here on the My Flight tab. You can import SimBrief details like now, and you can also control all the ground services here. Call for a pushback truck, toggle the jetway. Then on the mass and balance side, let's go there for a second. Of course, this just being a technical check flight, there is not a lot of passengers or cargo expected. However, we'll take on 6 airline employees and a little bit of baggage, just to show you how all of this works. We now go and load aircraft. It asks us, do we want to load in real time? Do we want to go fast, or just take an instant load over here? So we'll go for real time. And now you'll see that it is actually going to board your passengers, load the cargo, and most importantly refuel the airplane in real time. So that's really, really cool. Apart from that, we have panel states. You can load cold and dark, turnaround states, etc. over here, and also already for departure state. However, you cannot save your own panel states, so you will have to live with those predefined panel states here, and even if you save a flight, the airplane is not going to load with the previous panel state, but in a default panel state. Finally, we have simulator settings. So over here we can toggle several differences, like the DDRMI. That's this tool over here. Do we want to have it? Yes or no? Can just move it. Now it's gone. Or install it again. Same for the standby instruments. We can change between analog and between the modern ISIS instruments. We can choose if we want to have a metric standby altimeter or not. And all these kind of options. Airline modifiable information, you name it. So that's pretty much the important things we have available in here. On the controls tab, by the way, you can choose if you want to fly from the captain's or the first officer's seat. And also if you want to link up your barometric settings or not. So that's the Fenix app. And we've got a departure performance calculator. I'm going to get into that later on when we will actually calculate our takeoff performance. Same for the arrival over here. And I'm going to show you that in flight as well. We can access the Navigraph charts. Then we have the pilot brief over here, which basically once again is a SimBrief importer. So here we are, flight plan imported from SimBrief, and you also got your documents down here, which include the normal checklist and the Fenix user guide, which is something, by the way, that I would have hoped to be a little bit more extensive. The manual, even though this is a very complex aircraft, the manual only covers 13 pages over here, and with an aircraft as complex as this, I would really have hoped to get, you know, a little bit more sophisticated product manual with detailed tutorials, detailed system description, etc. The Fenix is a very detailed systems simulation. However, it would have been nice to have a manual that actually explains you those systems. Now, of course, if you're new to Airbus, then there are plenty of videos available on YouTube from which to learn the aircraft, and there are also some user-written tutorials available. And if you want to spend money, there are even some professional books available on the Airbus systems and on Airbus in-flight simulator. However, it would be very nice with an add-on like this if there was also some more detailed manuals included. Finally, we have our settings over here. In the settings, we can control if the EFB is in flight mode or not. We can change the EFB's brightness, insert your SimBrief data, connect Navigraph, and all these kind of nice changes. So, we're getting a message here, boarding complete already. So, we can dismiss that message. Since the boarding is complete, the Fenix is also disconnecting the jetway. And I have a feeling that we have spent a lot of time by now, and therefore, let's actually get started doing a little bit. Now, while I'm starting the airplane up, I'm just going to shut up for a second here, since I'm talking for like 10-15 minutes by now, so that you can actually enjoy the sounds of the aircraft. Right, it is an Airbus after all, so while it's starting up, we'll just let it do its thing. And I'm just quickly going to change the time here to show you what the night lighting of the Fenix A320 looks like. So, it's an Airbus. Give it 2 minutes from the time where you actually turn on the power until the aircraft is actually ready for you to use. So, looking at the night lighting, I believe that Fenix has done a really good job on it. This is the default lights that's turned on. Now, there is more. We have our floodlight here. Now, being an Airbus, it is not very bright actually, so this is about as bright as it gets. Of course, you still have some more lights hidden pretty much everywhere around the flight deck. So as you can see, lots of things to play around with over here, and overall the night lighting turned out really well. It's really immersive. It looks like an Airbus flight deck here, and that is all we are looking for, is it? Alright, so that's the lights in the Fenix A320. Now let's go back to daylight. And we'll take it from here. I'm going to turn those lights off now. I don't quite know why they are always turned on by default, but I do find that during daylight it looks a little strange if your floodlights, for example, are visible over here. Like, I don't think that they are this visible in the real Airbus, but that's probably simulator limitation. So I'm not actually going to blame anybody for it. Nice little feature here as well is the standby attitude indicator, if we're going to align this one. You will find these kind of small immersion features pretty much everywhere in the airplane over here. So that's just something really nice. Fenix went into a lot of detail to provide you these immersion features. One thing, by the way, that I just have to say is that it is my personal feeling, and that might very well just come down to personal judgment, that the default zoom level here is really zoomed out. So what I'm doing to correct for that is usually go into the general options, camera, and then over here I can change the default zoom level. And I have a feeling that at 60% it is actually much better than at the default zoom level. That's maybe something Fenix could have a look at for a future update. However, that is really just something very minor. Now, before we start actually dealing with the systems, there is some background that you should be aware of. And that is that most of the aircraft systems are actually not programmed by Fenix themselves, but they have purchased the ProSim software and are using that in the background to run the Airbus systems. So the systems themselves are mostly not developed by Fenix, but have been purchased in from ProSim. And that is something that we'll have to have a look at in a few moments, because by now the Fenix has received 2 updates. And more updates are of course going to come, but the question is, with all of sorry, not with all, but with most of the systems being developed by ProSim, are Fenix actually going to be able to take care of bug reports on the systems, and are they actually going to be able to fix some of the issues that we will inevitably run into? That's something that only time will tell, so I'm just going to leave that without further comments, and it's just something that we'll have to see in the future, if it's going to work, or if there may be troubles fixing some of the systems. So, all of that said, let's actually have a look into our own flights. So, got a flight plan here from Toulouse to Toulouse, call sign Airbus 320, and it's planned at level 240. The idea is to show you how the airplane performs on a departure, do a little bit of air work, test out some of the flight control systems and protections, and see how the autopilot is flying, and then we're going to come back, do an RNAV approach into a go-around, and then come back for an automatic landing here in Toulouse. So for that, with our trip fuel plant, we have an additional 30 kilograms of fuel, so 5,725 kilos in total, 5,730 kilograms on board. Great, so let's actually start with our system setup then. No, we do definitely not want to fire that fire extinguisher now. Now the Fenix EFB interacts really well with our flight. So if you go on the My Flight page, I'm looking for my QNH right now, and there's the weather tab. And it can also get you a VATSIM ATIS or the standard meters, depending on what you click on. So that's overall really well done. The EFB interacts really nicely with the flight, and if I am not 100% mistaken, then it is actually programmed by a real Airbus pilot. So there's definitely been a lot of good knowledge in there. Something a little strange though here, if I'm trying to view through my eCam pages, whenever I click on all, it's going back to the default page before continuing on to the next one. So the Flight Simulabs Airbus did definitely not do that in the past. Oh, and it's getting pretty hot in here, 32 degrees. So let's actually open the window. We'll unlock it, and then we can open it. Let's see how much of an influence that's gonna have on our temperature. Still 25 degrees outside. But let's just see how these parts of the systems are actually working then. So, time to start doing some work in the MCDU then. We'll start by initializing data link. The Fenix at the moment is one of the only aircraft that's actually able to connect directly to SimBrief and actually download data from SimBrief, as we'll see in a moment. So, navigation database, current, and we are in an A320-200 with a CFM56 engine. Now, as of this moment, the Fenix only simulates the CFM engine. However, free updates with further engine types and with sharklets have been promised by Fenix themselves. And as you could just see, we could easily uplink the flight plan from SimBrief. Just be aware that in case I'm going through some of the stuff here a little bit too fast, that's because this video is not designed as a tutorial, but instead it's simply a systems review, so I'm going to keep things a little bit fast here, and will however do some detailed departure briefing once everything has been entered. So we're going towards a demo, then we'll take the demo transition over here, insert that. We have 5.7 tons of fuel on board. And let's see if we've got a load sheet already. Yes, we have a load sheet. So zero fuel 44.7. At a center of gravity of 28.8. Finally, let's do some performance calculation as well. For that, we'll go on the departure performance app. Toulouse, 14 left. No, we want 32 left. It's dry. We'll synchronize the load sheet, then it's automatically taking the takeoff weight and the center of gravity. Flap config optimum. We don't want to force toga. Anti-ice off, packs off. We'll synchronize the live weather as well. So variable 5 knots, 26 degrees. And we click on calculate. Finally, this is giving us our takeoff data over here. We can view some intersection data as well, so let's just do that. We'll take Sierra 4 intersection over here. So we're going to get flaps 1, up trim point 3, 68 degrees, flex temperature, takeoff speeds 117, 123, 123. Note that we still have to type that manually into the MCDU. The Fenix and I believe the real aircraft as well are not able to automatically send this calculation like some Boeing aircraft types are. Up trim or down trim? Up trim, okay. 68 degrees of flex temperature. And that's giving us takeoff speeds 117, 23, 23. And finally, let's just insert that wind data uplink. Alright, so finally, secondary flight plan, we're going to copy the active and we'll insert our engine out departure there, which is simply straight ahead, 25 miles, climbing to an altitude of 5,000 feet. Now, over here we are going to encounter the first couple of issues when we enter the secondary flight plan. So for example, I want to create a custom point here, Toulouse X1. I'll go LFBO 32 left. Now what's the runway course again? That's 322. Now I can create that new waypoint, but the problem now is if I go to the secondary and I want to enter this as the first waypoint, then for some reason it's changing to present position and it's losing the departure airport there. So that's a little annoying. However, workarounds can be found here. If we do it like this, then it works just fine. We'll take a holding, computed holding there, and then new destination, as we want to prepare a quick return. Toulouse, arrival with the ILS approach for runway 3 to right, and we want no star and no via. Right, so let's have a quick look into what we just constructed. That's our emergency turn here. Going straight ahead into the holding, and then we have the aircraft set up for our return if we have to. Right, that basically concludes our setup. Then let's actually start doing a departure briefing real quick. So again from Lima Fox Bravo Oscar to Lima Fox Bravo Oscar, we're the Alpha India Bravo 320, cost Fenix A320 and cruise level 240. The aircraft is in a good condition, we have no significant NOTAMs and the weather is fine. And our plan today is to make a pushback to the left hand side, then we're going to taxi straight out. Let's actually quickly link up our Navigraph charts. That's going to make things significantly easier. So, we're going to import the route from SimBrief. And here we are then, ground charts. Take the airport charts, and let's see if we have a chart for the Airbus ramp. But we do probably not. No, we don't, but that's fine. So we are parking up here, push back onto Yankee, and then we'll taxi Yankee 60, Sierra 60 Whiskey, and we have intersection Sierra 4 figures. That leads us to a departure. For the departure we have the Perpignan 5 Bravo departure. That's up here. So, chart 10-3 Charlie, effective 17th of June, transition altitude is 5,000, which matches with the FMC. Initial climb clearance flight level 70, which we also have in. And then our routing is going straight at 2DME from Toulouse VOR 117.7. And here we have Toulouse, 2DME, and we are also going to tune Toulouse VOR on the radio. It has automatically been tuned, but it is good practice if you want to use the station that you're actually going to tune it manually as well. From there we'll take a right hand turn onto the 176 degrees to intercept the radial 142 from Toulouse. So for the routing we have 2DME, then we are going on 322 until the station, then a right hand turn, intercept 176 degrees. That's what we have over here. And then we'll proceed outbound on 142 degrees inbound Tango Sierra. 142 degrees to Tango Sierra. And then on that track, 19 miles to Galdo. We are on the track to Galdo. Left hand turn 095, 15 miles, waypoint Toulouse 43. It's probably 43 DME from Toulouse then. And then it's a right hand turn to Morel and finally to Perpignan VOR. So we have Morel and Perpignan. Alright, secondary flight plan is prepared for an immediate return in case we have to. Going to the 2DME point, then straight out all the way to all the way into a holding at 25 miles. We'll climb to an altitude of 5,000 feet. That's going to keep us safe. Let us quickly put that in as well. Alright, MSA 29. Perfect. Any questions for the departure briefing? No, very good. Then let's start up the APU. Normally you should wait until the flap open light indicates before pressing the starter, but for a reason that I don't know, it's just taking ages for the Fenix to actually display that, while in any other Airbus simulation I've flown previously it only took like 3-4 seconds-ish. But well. In the meantime, let's do the B4 star checklist down to the line. Cockpit preparation complete, gear pins and covers removed, signs on, auto, ADIRS. Here's a nav. Fuel quantity 5,730 kilos. Takeoff data set. Barrel rev 1023, reading 400. Before start checklist complete down to the line. Now, something that I'm a little bit surprised about. We just aligned our IRS. Nonetheless, it's showing us a drift of 0.8 nautical miles over here already for the separate IRS positions. So that's something that I don't know why the Fenix is doing it. And even more so, if you realign your IRSs in a turnaround, then as soon as they're aligned again, the original drift is being put into again. So, not sure why it's doing that, but we have to live with it. I guess it's probably part of the ProSim simulation there, rather than actually an issue with the software that Fenix has written. However, for the purpose of this review, we'll have to regard ProSim as Fenix and Fenix as ProSim, because after all, it is the ProSim software showing in this simulation. So, we'll prepare our ground services. We're on the APU, so ground power and chocks can go. We'll get our tuck over here. And as soon as they are ready, we can start our pushback. Alright, before start checks below the line, windows and doors. Now let's actually close the FO's window. To do that, we first have to press this button, then we can move the window all the way forward, and finally we have to lock it over here and make sure that the red bar is actually showing, because that's indicating that the window is finally fully locked. Same on this side, and the doors are showing closed as well. Beacon on, thrust levers idle, park and brake set, before start checklist complete. Alright, so park and brake is released. We'll start our pushback over here. Note that this is the Fenix built-in pushback tool. If you are using a Fenix with some other tools, like for example toolbar pushback, that's a very popular tool from flightsim.to if you're not aware of it, there are actually some issues with toolbar pushback that have so far not been fixed that can cause significant frame rate drops in the Fenix. Alright, we are beyond the red line. Let's start our engine number 2. One thing to be aware of, you can only command turns like this using the Fenix pushback, but you cannot, for example, steer it yourself using the rudder pedal. That's something that I personally would really like to see added in a future version, but I guess that's really complaining on a high level. The Airbus engine start works pretty much all on its own, so I've just focused on the pushback here. I'm going to show you the engine start in detail by the time that we are starting the second engine. Okay, pushback complete, park and brake set. We'll disconnect our tuck over here. And for a reason that I don't know again, the frame rates have really degraded once more. As said, I don't quite know why this is happening in the Fenix, and it seems to be pretty random as well. Like, if we just wait a little bit for now, then I'm sure that the frame rates are going to become good again in a moment. In the meantime, let's go ahead, start engine number 1, and have a close look at the actual engine parameters over here. Start our timing as well. Right, that's our starter cutout. We should get the engine start complete light in a moment. Or not, this particular airplane might not have it installed. So, I apologize for that. Let's go ahead with the after start procedures then. Okay, a flight control track. Full up, full down, neutral. Full left, full right, neutral. And the rudders. Full left, full right, neutral. With one status message here, that's pack 2 off. We're doing that to save a little bit of fuel on the taxi. By the way, that's something again, switching off a pack should reduce the fuel flow on the affected side, so on the right hand side here by 20 kilos. That's not happening in the Fenix. Right, after start checklist. Anti-ice off, ECAM status checked, pitch trim. We have 30... oh, not quite, 28% set. Rudder trim 0, after start checklist complete. So, let's actually start our taxi then. So we'll go first left, first right, and then to one of the intersections of the runway. Let's go! Brakes. Checked. Pressure 0. Something I really like about the Fenix is the simulation of the tiller. So the nose wheel steering seems to be done really well. I can steer it with the accuracy that I would expect from an aircraft like this. And overall it feels really nice when steering it on the ground. But just like an Airbus is, you add some thrust in order to get it rolling, and once it's rolling you reduce the thrust to idle, and it will very slightly accelerate at low weights. And even at medium-ish weights. If you, by the way, want to get rid of those electronic fly packs, you can just click on the microphone down here, and they are gone. So, approaching the first turn. Braking the airplane is pretty easy. However, it does feel quite a bit different from what most of us have gotten used to with the FS Labs A320 in P3D. The FS Labs really had a very ineffective brake at first, and then at some point at the pedal you got a very strong response from the system. Now, that does not happen in the Fenix. In the Fenix it seems to be more or less linear. And I've talked to some real Airbus pilots who said that it should more behave like the FS Labs than it does currently in the Fenix. So we're leaving the Airbus ramp now, entering the actual Toulouse airport area. So let's go ahead and review our takeoff briefing then. This is going to be a left seat takeoff on runway 32 left, flaps 1 NADP 2, buck up at 1500. or acceleration at 1500, sorry, I'm still using a little bit of Boeing terminology here, please excuse me for that. We'll do a flaps config 1 takeoff at 68 degrees flex temperature, takeoff speeds 117, 123, 123. Our SID is going straight ahead, 2 miles to loose, then a right hand turn, climb at flight level 70, and that is pretty much our SID. Now the engine out procedure will go straight ahead 25 miles, pick up the hold at an altitude of 5,000 feet, and that's going to keep us safe all around. So that's Sierra 4 here. No need to go to the intersection if we are not done with our procedures anyway. Then turn on the auto brake, takeoff config test, turns out normal. Okay, before takeoff checklist down to the line. Flight controls, checked. Flight instruments, checked. Briefing, confirmed. Flap setting, config 1 plus F. V1, VRV2 flex temp, 117, 123, 123, and flex 68 degrees. ATC, set, ECAM memo, takeoff no blue. Before takeoff checklist complete down to the line. So let's take our next intersection then. It's gonna be over here, Whiskey 30. No, sorry, Sierra 3 of course, Sierra 3. We are on Whiskey 30 at the moment. So, clear on the left, clear on the right. Before takeoff checklist below the line. Takeoff runway. That's 3 to left confirmed. Cabin crew advised. TCAS. TARA. Engine mode selector. Normal. PAX off. Before takeoff checklist complete. Then takeoff. Stabilized. Set takeoff thrust. Takeoff thrust set, indications normal. 100 knots. V1, rotate. Gear up. Pause on freight. 400 feet, we'll engage the autopilot here. Arm thrust, flap 0. Standard. Right, passing 39, climbing flight level 70 after takeoff checklist. Landing gear up, flaps retracted, PAX on, altimeter. Standard, after takeoff checklist complete. Cool, climb to cruise level 240. Set, 240 blue. You will find that the Airbus is doing a very good job at keeping the track line over here, staying right on it, even though I'm not 100% sure why the track line is calculated for an 18 degrees angle of bank turn rather than the normal 25 degrees. Maybe it's because of the acceleration. When we're going to accelerate our climb speed now, of course our turning radius is going to become larger. So let's see how that's going to turn out. We're passing 10,000, climb level 240. So the optimum would be 400. Is that right? The Airbus is not certified to fly flight level 400, so I'm not sure why this is showing. Maximum is flight level 398, that's the maximum certified altitude for the A320. So, not sure if that's an issue, but that surely doesn't look right here. Anyway, we'll climb to 240 and we're going to stay there. Now, we've seen that this aircraft can actually follow the line, so let's actually get ourselves direct here. What can we do? Direct to Morrill, maybe? Insert. Alright, while we're climbing, we'll turn the seatbelt sign off to give our airline employees a little bit of time to do some checks in the cabin there before we are finally going to start our air work once we've reached our cruise level. The Airbus does also feature a terrain display. However, it does feel a little bit strange at times. We can see that it's active. It's showing us the water over here, but it is currently not showing us any terrain. Now, I don't know if they have simulated the terrain peaks mode or not, but in case they have simulated it, that's perfectly fine. In case they have not simulated it, and I could not find any options for it, in case they have not simulated the peaks mode, that would mean that there should actually be some terrain showing here, which there is not. But we'll see when we're getting closer to Toulouse, descend to lower altitudes, then we'll see how that's actually going to work out. Quick word on the weather radar, by the way. The weather radar, just like any other complex aircraft add-on, is currently not simulated because Asobo is still not allowing developers access to the weather system. We're approaching 2,000 to go. It's going to vertical speed 2,000. one to go, the S1000. Now, a quick word here. Since you are seeing that we've taken 7 minutes to reach our cruising level, and many of you will be like, hold on, the Airbus shouldn't climb that good. You're absolutely right. However, keep in mind, we are basically flying an empty airplane here. We have 6 airline employees on board and only just 5 tons of fuel. That's why it's climbing so well. So, I have done some flights at the maximum weights as well, and on those the aircraft is actually climbing really good. So that's speed, all star. Looks like it's flickering a little bit, trying to transition between speed and Mach mode. Probably right on the conversion altitude here, are we? Yeah, planned at 0.68, that's exactly where we are right now. It should decide for one of the two. But that's as said, it does have some smaller issues. It also has some larger ones like the frame rates that sometimes drop for no reason. Like, we've just seen it on our takeoff, that the frame rates actually just became really bad as we entered the runway. Now, if you've seen that, that is nothing to be worried about too much. It was just bad coincidence that it did that now and that it didn't. So, on many other flights, it also did not do it right on takeoff. But yeah, that's just something that we'll just have to keep in mind here. Alright, so we've reached our cruise level. Let's have a quick look outside. And yeah, as you can see, it basically is an Airbus. It flies like an Airbus. And it looks like an Airbus. As you can see, the model is looking pretty good, as I've shown you close up already. So, with all of that done, let's actually start doing some of the more interesting stuff here and see how some of those flight envelope protections are actually working. So, we'll take the Airbus out of the autopilot, and that's something that is not working 100% for me yet, because I still have to press the button in the virtual cockpit here. When I just press the button on my joystick that I've assigned for autopilot disconnect, which works on any other aircraft, it just doesn't work in the Fenix. So I'm not 100% sure why, but not too much of an issue. We'll disconnect the autopilot here. And similarly we'll take it out of auto throttle. Alright, so first thing we're going to try here is the bank angles. So I'm going to use maximum roll rate here to get our aircraft rolling. And if I bank it over 30 degrees, then the system is automatically going to return it towards 30 degrees angle of bank. Letting go of my stick here, you can see it's coming back towards 30. Let's do the same in the other direction. I'm using full aileron right now. 45 degrees of bank. And you can see it's coming back towards 30 degrees. Let's also quickly go to the maximum. I'm keeping full aileron right now. And I'm still using full aileron. You can see it, how my side stick is deflected. At 60 degrees, it's actually stopping the roll. And same in the other direction. And I'm rolling it back to level. Okay, the next I'm going to check is the maximum pitch protection. We'll pull it all the way back, and you can see the green limit of 30 degrees over here. So I'm keeping full keeping the side stick fully back at the moment. You can see it's not giving me more than 30 degrees. Cancel the altitude warning here. Now let's keep it there. I've let go of my stick now. The side stick is fully in neutral. And now that we are entering the amber band, it is now shortly going to give us some nose down input. Or at least it should. Here we are. Alpha floor protection is kicking in. It's giving us full thrust here. And it's taking the nose down all by itself. As an Airbus should do. So I'm not doing any input on the flight controls right now. This is all the Airbus doing its thing. Right. Again, this is all the Airbus. I'm not doing anything here. Let's see where this is going. Should it do this? Should it bring us back into the stall here? I'm fairly sure it should not. Come on, Airbus. Now it's taking the nose back down. Okay, and we're getting auto thrust limited. Yeah. Here you have your toga Airbus. We'll take it back out of toga lock as soon as we are back within the normal speed range. In the meantime, let's quickly enter a holding over Papa Papa Golf. Take a computed holding, insert. Alright, so now I'm interfering with the controls. Right, so I'm back out of toga. Let's quickly see the low-level protection here. There we are, 12 degrees nose down. I'm holding side stick full down. It's not giving me any more, just like it should. Even though I'm not 100% sure what the FMA is doing there. If it cannot decide if it wants to capture the altitude or return to the descent mode. Anyway, we'll give it something more usable now. Let's go vertical speed, minus 1000. Here we are. And back into autopilot. Autopilot, auto throttle. Alright, and here we are again. So, we'll just quickly go into this holding. And while we're doing that, let's actually go ahead and bring the aircraft out of its normal law and into direct law. So I just want to experiment a little bit with these flight controls over here. So, we're back at level 240. The airplane can't decide again if it wants to fly a speed or a Mach. Doesn't matter. Auto throttle off. And we'll take the auto throttle off as well. So now let's actually turn off the flight control computers, see what happens. FAC 1 off, FAC 2 off. So we are now in alternate law, in which quite some of the protections of the aircraft are lost. So we're getting some additional information on the status page here. But let's actually go ahead and Yeah, just for the fun of it, I want to exceed those 60 degrees in the bank. Yep, it works. Perfect. And it also rolls quite a bit faster now. So this is full aileron input right now. So we can see that we did definitely get some extra controllability there from the aircraft. Alright, so that was just a very quick check. Alright, and finally, when we're going to extend the landing, it's going to go to direct law, but we don't want to do that right now. Right, so let's turn the flight control computers back on. This feels much more like an Airbus once again. It does certainly fly a little bit nicer in normal law than it does in alternate law. Anyway, let's exit that holding. And we'll proceed direct to RFIC, which is our star entry. So I'm going to put the airplane back into autopilot here. We've done some basic air work, the airplane handles nicely, and there's really not a lot to complain about in terms of the aircraft's and manual handling qualities. So, now it's decided that we want to go to Mach mode. That's nice to see. Alright, so let's actually start setting up our arrival then. On the Fenix app, we can once again get the latest weather for arrival. So the wind is variable 5 knots, CAF OK, 26 degrees, 1023. We don't need to sit anymore, but instead looking for the RFIC 6 Lima arrival, which is this one. That's going from Afric towards Adimo, and then from Adimo we'll go for the RNAV approach for runway 32 right. Sorry, 32 left. So we have an initial approach shot there, and RMP 32 left final approach. So for the FMC, let's quickly compare what we have in here. Going towards Afric. And Afric to the 64 DME from Fox Juliet Romeo. That's what we have. That's a right-hand turn to Marsam, Avel, Adimo. We have Marsam, Avel, and Adimo. Expect Adimo at flight level 80, okay. And here it is. Whole range, but if it says expect at 80, then we'll insert it at 80. Alright. So from there we have the initial approach from Adimo to Bravo Oscar 603 at 4,000 feet. Plus 4,000 in here. We'll take it at 4,000, that's what the chart says. Insert, and then to the India Oscar 32 left, maximum 210 at 3,000 feet. This one is above 3,000 again. I'll leave it there. So then we join the RMP approach, runway 32 left, starting at India Oscar to Fox Oscar 32 left. India Oscar, Fox Oscar at 3000. And we do have a 3-degree glide, 4 miles from the runway at 1820. That's not in the box, but the 3-degree glide is in. And we're going down to minimums of 837. Missed approach, straight at Tango Oscar uniform. Here we have Tango Oscar uniform. And turn left, Bravo Oscar 614 up to 4,000 feet. So in here it's 614, 4,000 feet. And turn left, Bravo Oscar 616, kilometer 5,000, 616, 5,000. At 616, turn left to 618 and proceed to Sulit. So 616, 618, Sulit. Okay. Do we need any radio data? Yeah, we can use the Toulouse VOR on both sides once again. Our aircraft is in GPS primary with a high accuracy. I'm also quickly going to insert a landing runway in here. Performance data, then we said we've got a QNH of 1023, temperature 26, and the wind is actually variable at 3 knots, so can we not clear the wind? No, we cannot. I don't know why, but I probably don't want to know. We'll just say this is 320 at 5 then. Alright, and our minimums is 837. So we'll start by doing a config 3 approach on this one. And we'll just select auto brake slow for the good sake of it. And we do plan to take this into go around. So, our plan for this one is to fly the approach, then we are going to go around, and from the go around we will join the hold over Sulit, prepare for the ILS approach, and then we'll come back for an automatic landing. Actually, we don't even need to join that holding, but what we can do, we'll just take the secondary flight plan and prepare our ILS over here. ILS 3 to left, and we will be going towards Sulit, so let's see if we've got a Sulit transition here. Yes, we do. Perfect. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, looks interesting. But that's probably because the routing is not going to line up over here. From Alba to Sulit, no. Okay, so that's fine. And actually a secondary performance, we can insert all of that as well. Then we are fully set up for the approach by the time we actually get down there. So let's see, ANA final approach 3 to left, that's the chart we need, 697. Right, so the plan is once we've executed the go around, we are then going to come back for a landing, for an auto landing using full flaps. Alright. Let's take another shortcut here, we'll go direct to the Fox Juliet Romeo 64, insert, and then of course the Airbus has sensed that we are past our top of descent right now, so we'll just have to manually start our descent towards 80 as initial level. First idle descent, all blue, level 80, with 3,500 feet above the profile. Once more drag, it can get that. It actually calculates a re-intercept of the path here all by its own. But what we can do, we'll just increase the speed a little bit. Go to 310, 320. Oh. Like this. Then we should catch the path pretty quickly. Also put the seatbelt signs back on. Now, something that I'm not able to demonstrate to you due to this shortcut right now is that the Fenix Airbus itself seems to have quite a bit more drag than the actual Airbus. So what that means is we have our wings uplinked into the FMS, and when we are doing a normal descent, then what keeps happening continuously is that it flies the lower limit of the speed band and even needs thrust in order to maintain its profile. And the reason for that is that the whole VNOC path calculations are coming from ProSim based on the correct amount of drag that an Airbus should have. However, the flight model itself is done by Fenix, and if that has more drag than the real one, then it means that the ProSim calculations are not going to be quite accurate. So we're back on path. Put the speed back to managed. Now, you will see it in a moment. Right now we are losing speed. It says more drag, but let's not give it any extra drag. So we'll keep the speed brakes or the spoilers retracted. And what's going to happen is, as soon as we're at the maximum speed, we're going to catch back the path. And then when we are following the path, the speed is actually going to drop all the way to the minimum. So we'll see that happen in a few moments. And very similar to it, when we are on final approach, the aircraft is decelerating quite a bit better than it should. And one more point, as we are getting at it, is the fuel usage here. In cruise, the Airbus uses quite a bit less fuel than it should. So that means that we have our calculations here of how much fuel we are supposed to have, but what you will notice is that you will always arrive at your destination with more fuel than what has been predicted at the beginning of the flight. That's also something that Fenix will have to fix. But here we can see it now. We are following the path, and the speed is slowly bleeding off. That's what I meant. So these are all some small things that Fenix has to get under control, which I'm sure they are going to do with future updates. They are aware of all those issues, by the way. They have confirmed that they are aware of them and that they will take care of them. A small workaround, by the way, if you don't want to fly your descents too slow, just go to selected speed, put it where the managed speed would be, so in this case 270 knots, and then the Airbus is simply going to use thrust in order to maintain the target descent speed. That's making things quite a bit easier at the moment. Right, we'll pull it back into managed speed now so that we can see our deceleration segment. You can see once again the speed is bleeding off here towards the minimum. So I'm just going to go select it and we'll set the 250 knots here again. That's my temporary workaround. It does work pretty well, so I'm just going to keep using this until Fenix has improved the flight model again. In the meantime, turn the lights on. We don't need the LS button. Constraints here, constraints there. And we'll not activate the approach phase quite yet. Alright, descended 4,000 feet, set altimeter 1023. Passing 8,600, descending 8,000. You can see it's in managed mode, so 8,000 is the constraint we have at our demo. So once we're passing our demo, it's going to go down to 4,000 feet here, and will continue its descent. Here we go. In this one we're in a geometric path descent. So what that means is the Airbus has calculated the average vertical speed it needs to get from 8,000 at our demo to 4,000 at Bravo Oscar 603. And now it's going to fly that very vertical speed that it needs there to provide for a constant, continuous descent. Alright, as we are slowly approaching our final approach, let's go for the approach checklist. Briefing confirmed, ECAM status checked, seatbelts on, Bajo ref 1023 set, minimums 837 set, engine mode selector normal, approach checklist complete. I'm already pre-selecting 3,000 feet for the continuous descent here. We'll also put the speed back to managed. Again, it tried to level off at 4,000 due to the constraint. Now it's going to continue the descent. We also have our 210 knot restriction over here, which it's going to slow down to right now. And when we'll overfly the deceleration point, that's magenta D, we see overlapping here, then it's going to activate its approach phase and going to slow down towards the approach speeds. So we're approaching our final layer. Flying it out of approach in the Airbus is easy. We simply press the approach mode. It's an approach nav already, and in a couple of moments it's going to go into a final mode.
$2,500.
Checked. Here we are, LDEF and VDEF showing. Note that in the Airbus they look a little bit like a localizer and a glide slope to provide common indications. However, be aware that the vertical deviation here is always going to be a fixed amount of feet. So unlike a glide slope, which gets more sensitive when you get closer to the runway, this one is constantly 200 feet maximum deviation. Okay, flaps 1. So it's in final approach. Set the missed approach altitude 5,000 feet. Flaps 2. You can see the Airbus very rapidly slowing down here in flaps 2. That is definitely overdone. It shouldn't be doing it this quick. However, it is doing a very good job maintaining the vertical path here. 5 miles from the runway, 2,100 feet. Let's see what the target would have been. $2,135, so it's flying perfectly on path. That's very, very good job. Alright. Gear down, flap 3, landing checklist. Cabin crew advised, auto thrust, speed, auto brake, low, and ECAM memo, landing no blue. Landing checklist complete.
$1,000.
Checked. Coming in perfectly on the poppies here. 2 whites, 2 reds. But look at how little thrust we need on final approach now. That should be a little bit more.
$500.
Checked. Right, we'll initiate the go around right at the minimum.
100 above.
Checked.
Minimum.
Go around, flaps. Positive rate, gear up. flaps 1. And flap 0. Alright, after takeoff climb checklist, landing gear up, flaps retracted, packs on, and altimeters 1023, passing 4,700, climbing to 5,000. So, back into nav. Now, this is strange here. It should just have turned the line for the go-around green. However, we still see the blue line. That is not normally correct. However, again, that's all ProSim stuff and not Fenix stuff. Oh, so now that we're passing the first fix, it's actually turning green. Alright, I've said nothing then. So let's start vectoring ourselves around then for the second approach into the auto land. We'll go all the way left, heading 140. In the meantime, secondary flight plan, activate. Direct to center fix, and we'll take the radial 142 inbound. Insert. Oh, what's it doing now? That doesn't look good. Okay. Just going to pull this again. Okay, looks like that secondary flight plan has actually not quite done what it should have. So this looks alright. Let's try that again. Activate secondary. Let's make that heading 145 instead. Okay, direct to center fix, radial 142 inbound. That should draw me an extended center line now. And this time it works. Okay. No nav intercept. Yep, that's because we are not on the course to intercept this line, so that's totally correct. So, quick review then. We'll activate the approach phase. Minimum is in, full flap config is in. Can take the GPWS out of the landing flap 3 then. Okay, so that looks all good to me. Can already start descending down 3,000 feet. Vertical speed. And let's do the approach checklist. Briefing confirmed, ECAM status checked, seatbelts on, barrel ref 1023, minimums 697, and engine mode selector as normal. Approach checklist complete. A quick look actually. Yeah, this is a Cat 1 ILS only. Is it? Let's just quickly check if we have the if there is a Cat 3 chart for this runway. No, there is 1414 right. No, okay, so this is a Cat 1 runway only, so the minimum is correct like it is. Note that nonetheless, even though it is a Cat 1 runway, you can still do an automatic landing on it. The only thing that's not guaranteed there is that the ILS indication is actually accurate enough. So when you're doing an automatic landing on a Cat 1 approach, then you have to be aware that signal deviation might occur on short final, so you have to be ready to take over manually in case you have to.
$2,500.
Checked. Okay, let's quickly change that flight plan to the final fix. Insert. Because I don't plan to fly all the way out to the center fix, if we can just turn final over here. And of course we need the LS mode as well. So that's our glide slope alive. At the left turn and heading 050 for our base. What you can see right now in the instruments, that the instruments are lagging behind while the airplane is not. That's actually something that I've encountered from time to time, and that is because the systems are running outside of the flight simulator itself. So, looking outside, you see the airplane is more or less flying correctly what it's supposed to fly. Saying more or less here because it's not maintaining the altitude 100% correctly. But for some reasons the systems are just acting a little bit up here. Alright, we'll join the final. Heading 350. Full jump to autopilots 1-2. Block star. Come on, aircraft. Please maintain your level as you should. That's our localizer. Glide slope star. 4,000 feet set. That's a very nice intercept here. And flaps 1. I intercepted at a pretty acute angle, and nonetheless it turned perfectly onto the final. Very good job. Alright, flaps 2. Okay, gear down. Flap 3. And flaps full. Landing checklist. Cabin crew advised. Auto thrust, speed, auto brakes, low. And ECAM memo. Landing no blue. Landing checklist complete. So now the systems seem to have recover from their lagging, so now it should continue the final a little bit more stable as well.
$1,000.
Checked. Something that I know some of you may notice, the Cat 3 dual you see on the FMA over here, that is not a bug. That's because we have enabled the airplane to fly Cat 3 dual. It does not mean that the ground installation provides the required accuracy. So this is not a bug, just to have that mentioned.
$500.
So that's the land mode over here.
$100 above.
Checked.
Minimum.
Continue.
100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10. Retard.
Alright, and here we are.
Retard. 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 Retard.
So, manual brakes.
Retard. Retard. Retard.
By the way, this continuous calling of retard here is
retard.
no an issue at the moment. If you go to the outside view, then this is going to go away. Here we are. Just something for you to be aware of in case the airplane keeps saying retard here. Right. And autopilot disconnected. Alright, vacating at Sierra 6, so we gotta go to the right there. Back up to the Airbus ramp. Clear on the left, clear on the right. Alright, time to clean our airplane up. Right, and the after landing checklist, please. Flaps retracted, spoilers disarmed, APU, start, radar PWS, off and standby, after landing checklist complete. So now at least we do get a terrain indication here. Not too much, but we get something, so we see it works. One final thing I want to do, single engine taxi. We'll turn on the yellow electric hydraulic pump. Turn off engine number 2. Single engine taxi is something that more and more airlines are doing these days, so it is quite important that this works correctly. A couple of commonly seen issues with single engine taxi include that the airplane just comes to a standstill because it has insufficient thrust available, but the Fenix seems to be doing quite a good job here. Let's see if we can accelerate if we go up to about 40% and 1. Yeah, the plane is controllable, the plane accelerates, that's really all we can ask for. So single engine taxi, we can say it definitely works. So, having a martial law would be nice, but we can do without. So we'll stop our aircraft here. Parking brake set, APU avail, shut down. Engine is running down pretty quickly here, by the way. The real CFM56 takes quite a bit longer to run down. Okay, we've passed 20%. Oh, they are fast here. We've already got external power. Very good. Okay, so parking checklist. APU bleed, on. Engines, off. Seatbelts, off. Exterior lights, set. Fuel pumps, off. Parking brake and shocks. Parking brake is set. Parking checklist complete. Alright, we've got our external power, so we can shut the APU down. And we can shut the overall aircraft down as well. I'll keep it on external power until the APU is actually stopped. One last thing that I find a little bit strange sometimes is that it likes to go onto the engine page here and actually have that fixed. In my understanding, it should only do this and show that light when it has been manually selected by the user. Like I'm doing for the APU now, because I want to see the APU shutting down. It's currently running through its 1 minute cooling cycle, and then the APU is actually going to turn off. So, what is my opinion on the Fenix A320 then? I have, in my flight, probably emphasized a little bit too much on some of the issues we've seen despite all the good things. So, let's go from here. Both the external model as well as the virtual cockpit are looking really good. I'm giving them 10 out of 10. The flight model, I would say, is it can use a little bit of an improvement, especially in terms of the drag. and of the thrust required on final approach. So I would say the flight model itself is actually... I don't want to give this a number because I'm not an Airbus pilot, okay? So we'll just say the flight model is alright. It can use some improvement. I'm sure it's actually going to get its improvement, so the flight model is alright. In terms of the system simulation, it is a rather comprehensive system simulation. It's using the ProSim, so the systems are not programmed directly by Fenix. They do not only feature some of the normals, as we have seen right now, but also many abnormal procedures. There are many failures that you can do in this aircraft, so that is something pretty good. But the systems do have their issues, as you've seen. When I activated the secondary flight plan for the first time, after the missed approach, it just deleted the whole flight plan, and only then on the second activation it worked. And there are some small issues here and there. Overall, nothing that would really spoil the fun. So I would say the systems are definitely good. Now, what does, however, bug me, what I find can use quite some improvement, is the frame rate of this aircraft. So, if I compare this to other add-ons, I've said in the beginning that I don't want to do it in this video, but I'll just have to compare it to some other aircraft here, because that's where the benchmark for performance and for frame rates is. If I compare this, for example, to the Aerosoft CRJ, or to the Just Flight BAE 146, or also to the PMDG 737, then the Fenix does give you less frame rates than those aircraft. And by default, you can see it right now, it's performing pretty smooth. But then there are issues in it where the frame rate is just going down for a reason that I still have to discover. Like we saw it in the beginning, we did our walk around, we entered the flight deck, all of a sudden we had bad frame rates. But when I've loaded the airplane up to prepare for the video, the frame rates were excellent, just like they are excellent right now. So what is the difference between what we are seeing right now and what we have seen when we've had the frame rate issues? That's something I don't get, and it's actually something that seems to happen rather randomly. So I don't know why it is, I don't know what it is. All I do know is that the frame rates definitely need some improvement from Fenix. So that's something where I really have to give them a -4. The frame rates do need some improvement. But that is the only major critique that I have on this aircraft. Apart from that, there are small points, like I pointed out with the systems. We'll have to see how good or not Fenix can actually fix those systems. But overall, this is a really enjoyable aircraft. It is fun to fly, it is a good Airbus simulation, it provides a lot of options, even some that I have not shown you yet, like if we get rid of the EFB, we're having sunshades in this aircraft. We can open the windows. Just some points here that some other developers should be taking something way off that can be expected in 2022 in a high-fidelity system simulator. So, overall, the price of the aircraft is £49.99 British pounds, so that converts into roughly $60-ish at this point. So, in terms of the price range, it is in the region of its competitors. It is a little bit cheaper, actually, than most of the competitors, and the features you're getting for this price are really good. It is a very enjoyable aircraft, even though it does have some minor shortcomings on which the developers are hopefully going to improve. But then again, we are talking about an aircraft that has just received 2 hot fixes. Apart from that, it's still the initial release version, so I'm sure that those fixes are going to come. Overall, a very nice aircraft, very enjoyable, and for the price point, very recommendable as well. So, if you're looking for a good Airbus, or if you have just flown that one airliner that you had previously to a point where you can't stand it anymore, then this is definitely an aircraft to go for. You are going to have a lot of fun with this, and I can wholeheartedly fully recommend you to get the Fenix A320 for Microsoft Flight Simulator. That said, Let's shut the aircraft down. Run the secure checklist, and that's going to be it for this video. If you like this review, then leave a like, leave a comment, and if you really love what I'm doing, I would much appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me a Coffee link in the video description below. Thank you very much for joining. I hope to see you all again soon. Securing the aircraft checklist. ADIRS, off. Oxygen, off. APU bleed, off. Emergency exit lights, off. Signs, off. APU and battery, off. Securing the aircraft checklist complete.